Welcome to Chart of the Day Cafe for Tuesday, October 18th, 2016. Just going to read our disclaimer quickly. Trading stocks is a high level of risk and viewers should complete their own due diligence on any stock or underlying that they intend to own. 100% of the content of this video and communique is intended for journalistic and educational purposes only. This video and all indicators, strategies, and articles herein should not be construed as investment advice. Thank you for your patience with that. As always, I'm sorry it's such a pain to read that every time, but I just want it to be really clear that I'm not offering any advice. I'm just sharing my own homework with you. So with that, let's get into today's video. We always start with a look at the Russell Index, and we look at it, step back to take a look at it on a 5-year monthly time frame. And for that, we use the IWM, which is the ETF that represents the Russell 2000. We were paying particular attention to this blue channel that the Russell traded within through all of 2014. Had this little lift up and out in early 15. We hit this upper blue band, sold off, price strength came back in, and we are right back up at that level again right here, right now. So upper blue band that offered resistance over here may offer some resistance over on this side. We will see. Worth noting the candle for the month of September. These are the monthly candles. Had a wick at the top and a wick at the bottom. Having said that, there was a little bit of volume coming into the candle for the month. We drew our trend line here a couple of weeks ago. We're just monitoring this. You can better see it on the weekly chart. So I'm going to move it away from the monthly to the 2-year weekly. And there's our trend line. So it's got to get through this black line to take a run at that upper light blue band that offered resistance over here. We use this blue line, which is the 8-day EMA, as our guide. When price is up and over the 8-day on the daily, we put new charts forward, but it is below the 8-day on the weekly, both the weekly and the daily. So here's the weekly. You can see the blue line and the red bar, and price is below the blue line. I'm going to move it away from the weekly to the monthly so you can better see. On the daily, we are also below. So we are not putting any fresh charts forward, but we will put forward some old Chart of the Day Cafe picks that look interesting here. I'm going to pull it back to the 2-year weekly so we can get back to this look on the Russell, and you can see this area of support here coming in. I'm filming this at about 8:15 on Tuesday morning. The futures are up in a healthy way. Dow futures are up about 98 points last time I looked, which is about 0.5%. The Russell was up about 9 points, or about 0.8% of that point. I am going to move away from the weekly chart. I'm not putting any fresh charts forward this morning, but I've been meaning to do a quarterly review of the big charts, and so I'm going to do that this morning. So if you want to stick around, great. If you don't, I'll see you on Thursday. So for that, I use the 10-year quarterly. I just magnify price and the candles, and for me, I find it really helpful. So 10-year quarterly chart of IWM, which is the Russell. You can see the channel that it traded in through 2014, the lift up and out, the subsequent sell-off. So here are the candles for 2016. This is January, February, March. We all remember that sell-off. And then the long wick that created price movement back into the channel. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So here's the quarter that we just finished, and here's where we are right here, right now. So I think that's kind of interesting to know. The candle for the quarter was fairly bullish with a big wide body, but we are right up against that area of prior resistance. Same thing with the other indexes, the DIA. Here is my area support, and more minor area of support up here. We're up and over. There's the candle for the quarter, and here's where we are right here, right now, and the S&P. Whoops, got my trend line drawn in there, but you can see prior area of support, and we are up and over that area. I can do a little orange line in here, show you. So there's the quarterly candle for the S&P. I'll move it away from the quarterly to the 2-year weekly so you can better see. I've got this trend line drawn in here. I drew it in the other day. We are below it, but this may offer an area of support right in this area here. Two sectors that I think are worth taking a closer look at, aside from the big indexes, are the financials and the transports. We've talked about them before, but let me just get into it right here. So I got all my lines. I will take those away. Not clutter up my chart. So this is the index itself. In the US, it's the BKX 10-year, and I'm going to go quarterly. You can see that it was trading in this great big wedge. But the interesting thing, and maybe worth noting, is that as opposed to retail and consumer discretionary and technology and a lot of the other sectors that have been higher, like let me show you XLY, consumer discretionary, beautiful uptrend, never really been higher. And retail, same thing, beautiful uptrend, bouncing around this area, but for the most part, nice high uptrend. The banking sector has been lagging, so it hasn't been able to gain that momentum, but maybe it will here. So I wanted to draw your attention to the wedge and the small candles here in the middle of 2014 that were indecision, really tight small candles. Now these are quarterly candles, keep in mind. And then early 15, just like the Russell, the banking index helped the Russell get up in early 2015. The subsequent sell-off, and here are our candles in the financials so far for the year. So we're in this wedge. This was January, February, March. Again, the long wick and the price sell-off. April, May, June. Doji in the apex. July, August, September. Bringing us right back up to this orange line that was resistance in the past. So here we are right here, right now. So I think that's kind of interesting. I'm going to move it away from the quarterly to the 2-year weekly. This is just magnifying our candles to the weekly chart. So here's our great big wedge. Here's the apex. And here's how price has been behaving in this area. There's the same orange line that offered resistance in 2014. And look at the way we're bouncing around that orange line. So I do things like this. I draw trend lines like this. So here we are up against the orange line. Weekly candles, we had a breakout. It tried to get up and over our orange line. It was successful here, but then it gave it back last week. And here's where we are right here, right now. So I'm going to move it away from the weekly to the 9-month daily so you can better see. And not to clutter the chart up too much, but you can do little wedges and wedges here. So there's a wedge, there's a wedge. Right at that orange line, a break up or down would be interesting. So there's our first wedge, daily chart, and here's where we are here. Goldman Sachs announced earnings this morning. The market liked them, so they look to be opening higher. Maybe that will be enough for us to get the financials up and over this orange area. We will see. The other one, JP Morgan, announced last week. It wasn't enough to get it when we got it up and over the orange line, but the candles don't have a lot of conviction. Maybe that conviction will come in today. We will see. I'm just showing you this chart. It's not a chart of the day Café pick. I don't know what the scores are, but I just thought it was worth showing you that JP Morgan chart. The other sector that I think is really interesting here are the transports. So again, I'm going to show you the index itself. And let's go out 10 years quarterly. Take a look. So we're looking at the TRAN, Transportation Index. I've got it in this great big wedge, 10-year quarterly. So these are quarterly candles. Wedge. Here we are, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. It looks as though we may want to break out of this wedge. We're in the apex. You'll see. So this was last quarter. Nice looking candle for sure. And here's where we opened for the month of October. So I'm going to pull it a little closer. I'm going to go from the 10-year quarterly to the 2-year weekly. And I've been monitoring price in this area on this index closely. So Here we are in the wedge, same orange line. This is the orange line that goes back all the way. And here are my more minor areas of support. So we had, these are the weekly candles. It moved off of our orange line, came into this area against my trend line, had this squeeze taking place. So I've got my orange line drawn in here as a rough area of support, and the squeeze up and out, and here's where we are right here, right now. So I'm going to pull it into the daily chart so you can better see. There's the area that we were looking at before. Let me show you on the weekly, just pulling it in a bit for better clarity of vision. There's the big long-term orange line. Here's the shorter term, the squeeze against my trend line, the breakout, and here's where we are right here, right now. I'm filming this at about 8:20 on Tuesday morning. The futures are up in a healthy way, so we will see if we can get us up and over the blue 8-day EMA on the indexes and the transportation sector, as well as the financials. We'll see. It should be an interesting day. I wanted to show you a couple of other charts. These are past chart of the day Café picks. We put this one forward. Let me pull it out to the 2-year weekly. This is Smith & Wesson. We put it forward here at Chart of the Day Café. It's hit this trend line, and I will show you. That's the weekly. There's the daily. Looks to be lifting. I'll put my 3 and 8 on. It's got a 3 and 8 cross at this area of support. Check the scores on this one this morning, still healthy, as well as Strum Ruger, same thing. 3 and 8 cross, check the scores on this, and they were pretty nice and where we want them for Chart of the Day Café this morning. Also wanted to note that here's the YouTube channel. When I see a 3 and 8 cross, I'll stick it in the discussion here. So I put a little note in there this morning saying RGR and SWHC have a 3 and 8 cross and are at support. So if you want to click that, I'll try and update it as much as I can. I just spin through my charts at the end of the day, and I'll lob little notes in here. So I wanted to make you aware of that. So with that, I will leave you. It'll be an interesting day, and see you Thursday. Thanks very much.